Hello everyone, I hope that you're all having a beautiful day. I'm excited today because we're going to be going over all of the cards in the latest One Piece card game set for the Kingdoms of Intrigue. This set is going to be themed around mostly the Alabasta and the Dressrosa arcs, so if you're a fan of those arcs, you're definitely going to be wanting to collect and play a lot of the cards and decks in this set. Starting off with, first we're going to go with one of the main chases I think for this set is going to be the Manga Rare, and this time we've got another super rare Sabo that is getting the Manga Rare treatment. So here's the alternate art super rare version, and then this is the manga alternate art version. I love the artwork for this card. I love the scenes chose. I think the color black looks really good on the manga artwork, and I think overall this card is also going to be very playable too, because when we take a look at the translation here, effect. Blocker. Already a strong keyword on this card. It's got plus 1000 counter power, which is also great. On top of that, it's got an on-play effect. Your characters can't be KO'd by card effects like, say, Jet Pistol until the start of your next turn. So that's really good. The fact that it affects not just itself, but other characters on your board as well. But on top of that, this card also draws 2 cards and trashes 2 from your hand, so it can help you filter things through a little bit and fix your hand if need be, which is one of the weaknesses, in my opinion, right now of black, is that the hands can be bricky. So the fact that we're getting a new 5-cost card with counter power, great effects, and it can help filter through your deck a little bit, I think all around, this is definitely going to be deserving of some deck slots. Let me know if you're excited for the Mongo Saba Rare. Next up, we have alternate art leaders, and what's interesting about this set is all of the leaders are going to be multicolored. So starting off first, we have Vivi and Rebecca. Both of these are very interesting because neither of these leaders can attack. So usually multicolor leaders only have 4 life. These ones are balanced by having 5 life, but they can't attack. However, both leaders have very interesting abilities that allow them to draw more cards from your deck. Draw power is very limited in the card game of One Piece right now, so I think both of these cards, because of their leader abilities, could offset the handicap of not being able to attack, especially when you factor in that they're multicolor, and we're going to have 4 sets of card pool to look into. Let me know if you agree or disagree about these 2 leaders. Next up, we have Crocodile and Doflamingo. Both of these are very interesting leaders as well. I think the Doflamingo I'm particularly interested in. His ability is very simple. End of your turn, set up 2 Dawn as active. That's going to come into play really well with some of the other cards that we're going to be talking about later on in this video. Also, though, just in general, I really like this style of artwork for the alternate art leaders. My favorite is the close-up manga face fault images that we got in the first 2 sets, but I do really like that these feature the organizations behind these 2 awesome villains. Our final leaders is Queen and Isho. I'll be honest, I'm not as excited about these 2 leaders, but I think that it is interesting we're getting some more Animal Pirates love, and Isho's a pretty based character in the series, so let me know if you're excited for at least the Isho deck. Now, we're going to be talking about alternate art super rares. We've got Luffy and Doflamingo are going to be 2 of the heaviest hitters. The Luffy ability is really interesting because you can return 7 cards from the trash to the bottom of your deck in any order and set this card to active. That's going to be a really strong closer for the black archetype, and I think you're going to be looking to play this card, slap on 10 Dawn, and swing twice for 17,000 in 1 turn. That's going to be really strong and hard for any opponent to defend from. Let me know if you can think of any other good usages for this card. I will say it doesn't have any counter power, but I think it's going to be okay because when you play this card, you're going to want to close out the game with it. Next up, we have the Doflamingo, which I did say the Doflamingo leader ability is going to come into play about restanding 2 Dawn at the end of your turn, and here's an example. You can play this 10 Dawn Doflamingo card and then still have 2 Dawn at the end of your turn left over for defensive counter abilities, and the lockdown on the Dofi's ability is super strong. A total of up to 3 of your opponent's rested characters or leaders do not become active during your opponent's next refresh phase. That's also going to combo with some other stuff later on here in the Doflamingo card. So just all around, that archetype's looking really interesting in set 4. Starting off, though, we're going to talk about the Baroque Works to go with the Crocodile. We've got Mr. 5, Crocodile himself, and Mrs. All Sunday, the Nico Robin here. I think that this deck, I honestly don't know how good this deck is going to be. It's got some very interesting abilities, and I like how they synergize with each other and with the Crocodile Leader's ability. I didn't talk about it when we showed him originally, but what his ability is when during your opponent's turn, if you -1 Dawn, which you'll see there's a lot of effects like on the Crocodile himself, on your opponent's attack, -1 Dawn. With the Crocodile Leader ability, you get to minus that Dawn and add it right back into the active state. So it's almost like you kind of are neutralizing some of the other handicaps on these other cards, and you can get to use really powerful effects and hopefully neutralize their handicaps to them. So let me know if you're excited for the Baroque Works Crocodile deck. I think honestly it might be a little too complicated for me, and I'm personally not a huge fan of the color purple, but purple and yellow could be a really interesting combination. Let me know if you're excited for this archetype. Next up, we have the Donquixote Pirates. And so this is going to be a really fun combo-y type deck, but I think it's also going to be really interesting. So we see Diamante here on the left. He's going to be a blocker for 5 cost. If you have 2 or more active Dawn, set this character as active, which can happen automatically with the Dofi ability. Then we've got Sugar. Opponent's turn, once per turn when your opponent plays a character card, if your leader has the Donquixote Pirates type, like Doflamingo, rest up to one of your opponent's characters. So that's really good. If your opponent is the type of deck that tries to play vertically, and what I mean by that is they don't play a lot of characters on the board, they just play 1 or 2, like say Whitebeard as an example, and put a lot of Dawn onto them and try and swing heavy, this Sugar could really try and neutralize that strategy and give them some problems to deal with. And then the last card here, we have the Treble on play, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. So that's going to combo there with your Sugar and some of your other things in the deck. Just really, really interesting here. I'm really curious to see how the Donquixote Pirates deck is going to be. I think it's going to be a really interesting deck. Now we've got even more alternate arts because we talked about the Alabasta Baroque Works, we talked about the Dressrosa Donquixote Pirates, but there's going to be other cards as well. So for the color yellow, we're getting this Gang Beige and we're getting this Sanji. I think the Gang Beige is a really, really interesting trigger. So first off, he's got 2,000 counter power, so right off the bat, he's deserving of some slots in the deck, but his trigger, up to one of your opponent's leaders or character cards cannot attack during this turn. Wow, that is a really strong trigger effect that could end up giving you more valuable than just using this card as a 2k counter. So I really like the potential for that trigger. It's not something you can rely on triggers, but say with the Katakuri deck, you can kind of use the information from the Katakuri leader to maybe set things up a little bit and try and get this trigger off late game. That could be a really, really powerful game-ending effect there if timed correctly. And then we've got the Sanji here, 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter, and he's got a blocker. Pretty basic card here, solid I think for the yellow color. I like that it has counter power, and its trigger is that you can discard a card from your hand to play this card. Always good to be able to play a blocker on surprise off of a trigger effect, because that could really mess up your opponent's plans, especially if it's late into the game. In addition to the Gang Beige and the Sanji, we also have Yamato here. So this is a 9 cost yellow Yamato that says on play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost that is equal to or less than the total life of you and your opponent. So I think if you're using this card kind of late into the game, even if you're yellow, you might not have that much life. Your opponent might not have that much life. I wouldn't really count on this card KOing a high-costed character, but hey, maybe it KOs that extra blocker or something that can help you get through that last attack that you need. And then on top of that, another ability, then if you have 1 or less life, you may add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to your life area. So that's where I think this card is getting a lot of its value from, is the fact that it's adding a card from the top of your deck to your life, giving you an extra life. Let me know, do you think this card is going to get a deck slot in any Katakuri decks left over from set 3? I'm not quite sure yet personally, but I do like the artwork on the Yamato. Now, after the Yamato, we've got more Kaido Wano Country cards. We've got the Animal Kingdom Pirates, Kaido, and Who's Who. I really like that Who's Who and the Kaido artwork. Both of these are really awesome, and I like that it shows them in their Zoan transformation hybrid forms. So Kaido's abilities on play return up to 1 character with a cost of 8 or less and up to 1 character with a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand. What's really good about this is it's finally giving Blue an answer to Eustace Captain Kidd. Until this card and, you know, some other cards that we're getting in the set, blue had trouble dealing with the 8 costed cards that costed 8, like Eustace Captain Kidd. It was a real deck breaker to face up against that card. But finally, they've got a solid answer in the form of Kaido. And 12,000 power to attack with is nothing to scoff at either. And then we've got Who's Who on play. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Animal Kingdom. So it's a searcher card, but everyone knows searchers are great in the One Piece card game. And now we have the Pell and the Kyros. So the 2 swordsmen, arguably, I mean, I know Pell's not a dad, but he did have a very kind of like supervising and like mentoring role towards Vivi. And I won't say any more about Kyros' role in the story, but Pell, Dawn ×1 when attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 4,000 power or less. I think that's just going to be a really strong effect for the color red. So red was already strong. They didn't really need too much more, but this is something that's definitely going to make them even stronger. Solid card in red there for the Pell. And the Kyros effect, if this character would be KO'd, you may rest your leader or 1 Kurita Coliseum. Instead, Kurita Coliseum is going to be a stage card in this set. So if your leader is Rebecca, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less on play, then trash 1 card from the top of your deck. So this card is going to be particularly good in the Rebecca deck. Let me know if you're interested in playing the Rebecca deck. It's not one that's personally on my radar, but it's one that I know that I'm going to have to be prepared to defend against. And finally, we've got secret rares here. We've got Vivi and the Rosinante revealed as our secret rares. So Vivi's ability is all of your red characters with a cost of 3 or more other than this character gain rush. And Rosinante's ability is during your opponent's turn, if this character is rested, your active characters with a base cost of 5 cannot be KO'd by effect. So a nice defensive ability there from the Rosinante, a nice aggressive ability from the Vivi. Also, Rosinante on play, you may rest this character, play up to 1 green character card with a cost of 5 from your hand. I really like the theme in that because you could play that card and then you could play the 5-cost Trafalgar Law green blocker, which is just, oh, chef kiss thematicism right there. I don't even know if thematicism is a word, but that's what this is. And that would be a really strong play too, because then you could play the Trafalgar Law and you could play another card off that. Oh my God, I already know this card's gonna be making me sweat, but I'm gonna love the theme when it hits the board. Finally though, last thing to reveal in the set, we've got a new type of rarity revealed. So these are reprints of previous cards, but holy cow! These cards look incredible. And shout out to Kaizoku Cards, because if you picked up some Kaizoku Cards, custom cards before, this style of card might be familiar to you. I know the illustrator here, Hayakin Serena on that white beard. Oh my gosh, this card's so beautiful. But I need all of these. I need all of these cards. Look at the background texturing there, even the artwork on the characters themselves. These look amazing. I'm super excited to collect these cards. I'm curious to see how many of these you could possibly get in a case. Definitely going to want that 5-cost Trafalgar Law to play with the Rosinante. And I want that Whitebeard. I want them all. The Boa, the Kaido, even the Magellan. Shout out to Mythic Monty. So let me know if you're excited for the Kingdoms of Intrigue set. I'm extremely excited from a collector's purpose. I want this new rarity. I want the Donquixote Pirates. And I want that Sabo Manga Rare. But from a playable perspective, I'm super interested in that Donquixote Doflamingo deck. I think that one's going to be really strong. So let me know what you're most excited for. And most importantly, everyone, I hope that you all have a beautiful day. If you enjoyed the video, we'd greatly appreciate it if you'd smash that like button, comment down below, let me know what cards or decks you're excited to play or collect, maybe both. And subscribe to the Manatee Nation. I greatly appreciate it if you haven't already. Peace out, everyone. Let's go!